everyone, hi. Welcome to Conversations with Teenath. And in Conversations with Teenath, in association with freebirds.co, we bring you exceptional human beings of this earth. And one such wonderful human being that I am presenting to you today is Moyuri Deka. Hi, Moyuri, how are you?
Hello, Tinadba. I'm good. Thank you. How are
Nice to
you?
see you. So nice to see you. It's lovely. You
The
know,
same
the
here.
the first time I met you, I think it was at Bonamalika's anything,
Yeah.
and you were speaking, and I was looking. I was, the voice was very captivating. I was wondering. I didn't know you then. No, I absolutely did not know you, and I was wondering, who is this person? She's speaking from the heart. Who is this person? And I just sat there and I kept staring at you. Excuse me. And I just
Thank.
kept staring at you. So it was wonderful. I mean, that at the first time I saw you, I was totally enamored because you were speaking about something very intense. But more than what I heard from you was how you spoke. I was looking at how you were speaking, and I knew this woman. She's so passionate. Wow! I was feeling that. That was very intriguing for me when the first time I met you.
Thank you so much. I remember that it was about regarding CAA. We bunch of people from Guwahati. We sat down there and we talked about it.
Okay.
As far I remember, I think that was the first day at anything. We were talking about being Assamese and all these issues,
Yeah. Of
which
course.
was
Of course.
like quite. Yeah. I remember it. Thank you,
Beautiful.
thank you. And I remember you clicked a picture of me also, right? Sorry.
Yes, I
Yeah,
You've got
thank
a
you
one.
for that. Yeah. Till now, I have not thanked you, I think. Sorry, remember?
You've got a wonderful memory. I said that you also remember that I clicked a picture of you. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
of course. I saw you and I'll forget you. It won't happen. Yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
so,
anyway for welcoming me here.
you are one of my favorite persons, and like I love to show off in this particular show in Conversations with Tea that I love to show off my friends, and I always say that those billions of people around the earth, I've got at least a million friends that I can show off. And you are one of that wonderful friend, human being, a person who has touched my heart, and she is Moyuri Deka. So before we move ahead, I'd like to introduce you to our viewers. We have got a live thing happening right now. It's a live stream which is happening from on freebirds.co. So Moyuri Deka is a free-spirited soul, and that's why I love her so much. She's a poet, she's a writer, and she's an LGBTQ plus activist. She is a passionate dreamer. Wow, passionate dreamer. An engineer by profession and calls herself a crazy lover. And that is why I love her so much, because her poetry, her writings are filled with so much of love, so much of mystery, and so much of stories, and so many different things all put together that it doesn't satisfy me when I read one of your poems or one of your write ups just once. I need to read it at least 2, 3 times for it to get into me, get into my system, and make me feel good. Seriously, you are an amazing poet and writer. Seriously. And I'm so happy, so privileged that you're here today with me. Seriously.
Thank you so much, Tinadba. Like, I'm feeling shy a little bit because I don't know. Like, whenever I write, it's like how I'm talking to you, When I write, I just do it. Like, instead of speaking it out, I type it out. So when someone says like this about me or my write-ups, like, I'm privileged, to have you in my life as a friend and as a mentor also. So many times I have looked up to you. So thank you so much. It means
Wow.
a
And
lot.
I'm inspired by you. You are inspired by me. I think this is a mutual admiration club that we have, I think. So good. Nice. Moiri, I have a
Oh,
beautiful
yeah.
poem that you had kind of put it up on Facebook a couple of days back. And this is really because I'm a lover myself. I call myself a lover, and a lover to the core, core of my heart. I'm a lover. I'm a lover of human beings and everything around me. And my son has taught me more, he has taught me how to love even a little ant. And today, let me tell you a little story that happened. We actually put up a little trap because there was a rat going around in the kitchen. And what happened is that the rat actually got, it was trapped. And my son, last night, it happened last night, and my son said, Mom, I don't think I can go to sleep because that little rat must be wanting to go and sleep with its mom. And look, it's caught in the trap, and now it won't be able to sleep with its mom. I was feeling so sad. And I said, I never thought about that, and how could you think, he fills my heart with so much love when he talks about things like this. I meet lovers like you, my son, and my heart brims over. And I feel, that we need more lovers like us in this world, actually, to make it better. You have this lovely poem, Mayuri, that if you permit, I'm going to read it out
Of course,
because
of course, of course.
it is so beautiful. And I want everyone to listen to this. This is really beautiful. I mean, I know Mayuri would have done this better, but I want to read it because I want to have the privilege of reading out one of her poems. So it goes like this. Till the last drop of hope, life will be there. Till the last drop of friendship, life will be there. Till the last drop of memory, life will be there. Till the last drop of kindness, life will be there. Till the last drop of love, life will be there. And she gives a hashtag, Mohabbat Zindabad, hashtag homosexuality Zindabad. I absolutely love this, this particular poem. And I read it twice, thrice, and I showed it to my son and I said, read this. This is beautiful. You have to read poems that I'm going to tell you to read. And he actually read it and said, it's really beautiful. So what do you have to say about this? How did this occur to you? You're a lover, of course. You have to write things like this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reading it out, and your son also, thanks to him also. Uh, I wrote it particularly, I remember, because of the hashtag I used there, Mohabbat Zindabad. So all of us, I think, remember right now. mm, Last week, 1 week back, two guys committed suicide together in Patsala. So many things are happening after that. People are saying different stuff about it. And I have gone through the suicidal notes and other parts of their stories also I have heard from different people from the community. So the questions arise like, why two guys at the young age, when they're at the prime of their life, why did they die? They took the paths, path of suicide. That's the first thing. And second thing, why did they die together, holding their hands and jumping into a train? That's like a huge courage. People say the persons who commit suicide, they're coward. But I say no. To end up your life, you need lots of courage, And what is the thing that you got that courage at that moment, to end up your beautiful life? Then I thought, like, if we remember them in our heart, with our love, then maybe tomorrow we might be able to stop other people who are right now thinking about committing suicide. And after Sushant Singh's Rajput's death also, it's still going on. People are talking about it. But whatever it is, he is not coming back, right? That is the ultimate truth of death. Whatever we do, we cannot get back those people. That's why maybe we're scared of the term death. So those are again a big issue. If we talk about death, the word has a big meaning than what we see simply. We are not going in that way. But particularly that incident just shook me apart. Like I when I was a kid, 20 years back probably, I read in a newspaper, in a corner of a newspaper, like I think last fourth or fifth page of the paper, it was there two girls jumped in a pond, together, although again holding hands, because when people got their dead bodies they were still holding hands. I don't know about the holding hands part about the dead bodies, but it is correct that they committed suicide in Assam only. I forgot the details. That after 20 years, when I saw this happening, like in front of our eyes, it shook me. Like in 20 years, in 20 years, again, two people has committed suicide. And if you go through it in a deeper way, yes, they were in love. They were in a relationship also, and their family didn't accept them, and other issues were also there. I don't know exactly which point triggered them that day to commit the sin, but yeah, of course, homophobia was there. Then I thought, one of my very good friend, he said, when the world is full of hatred, when people are tired of loving each other, then what can we do? He said that then we love little more. So it just touched me, and in that thought, I wrote like this, like, till the last drop of love, life will be there. And this was my kind of tribute to those friends that I couldn't be there when they needed probably us. So sorry if I'm talking a lot, but I'm still emotional about that
this
incident.
this is this is today, it's about you, so I'm inviting you to speak as much as you want, so this is your show. So Mayuri,
Thank you
just
so much.
speak your heart out. You're going to speak
Mhm.
about love, you're going to speak about celebrating love, and that is why you're here, and we're so happy. We need more lovers like you, me, my son, and so many other people around us. When you were talking about not accepting a relationship, I just kind of thought about something. My son was very young at that point of time, and he was growing up. And I remember my cousin had come in, and we were both kind of putting nail polish. My cousin and I, we were both using nail polish, and he said, "Oh, that's a nice color. It's pink, and I want to wear it too. I want it on on my nails as well." And then my cousin was horrified. She was like, "Oh God, how could you do this? It's a young boy. You're a boy. You shouldn't be liking pink. You shouldn't be liking nail polish and all those kind of things." Now, I told her one thing. I said, "Look, if he is liking that color, that's absolutely his choice. If he is wanting to put nail polish, it's absolutely his choice. And if he someday grows up and he likes a male, and it's absolutely his choice, and I'm going to be the one to support him. Please understand that." And my cousin was even more horrified. And then I don't know, she felt I think she must have thought that she's too liberal. She's not traditional. She fakes it that she's actually a very traditional person, but she's too liberal. But no, my thought is that the way my son wants to live his life, I am nobody. I Just because he's my son, I do not own him. He is my child. He is a human I've brought to this world, and it's absolutely his choice. When you were talking about these two little girls and these two boys who were holding hands and they died, my heart goes out to them. I don't understand how people do not understand love. Love can be in any form between two persons of the same gender. Why not? It can be with anyone. I simply don't understand why people cannot accept love as it is.
True, true, true. Like, I understand the fact that when something is happening which is not similar to you, and something is different, people people get it hard to accept it. But my point is, and people get it hard to understand also. But right now what we need is, like, if you don't understand it also, it's fine, but just learn how to accept it, because this is how it's gonna be. Like, 10% of total population in the whole world belongs to your LGBTQI plus community. So you cannot deny the 10% from your whole circle of your total population, right? Whole circle of your society. So if you are talking about your society growth, anything, any point of, like, life matter in that case, you cannot minus the 10%. It's a huge number. And just tell me one thing, like, why this 10% are shouting on behalf of their rights, for their love? Are they crazy? No, they're not crazy, but they need their rights. And why they're showing it like, this is my identity, we need our rights? 10%, it's a huge number. And 10%, it's from a survey we got. And many people are there who are not coming out. Many people are there who have not realized yet about their identities. So slowly, slowly, the percentage will become more. Then what you will do? It's not always about the case of majority and minority. It's always about the case of life. There's nothing bigger than this life. And since we got this life, that means there must be a meaning, right? And
Right.
how we choose the lifestyle of our own lifestyle, this is the matter of choice, and again a right, and which is the absolute right for me right now. I have used lots of right here, but yeah, that's
Absolutely.
how it came out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on this. When you say about rights
Hmm.
of this 10% and it's going to increase, but why not? Why can't they have rights? They have a right. They have come into this world just like you, me, everyone. Why can't they have their own rights? I simply cannot understand who the hell, now that's something, a word I'm using, who the hell are they, within quotes, to actually decide what rights they're going to give this group of people or not. Who are they? This is my question. Who are they?
Exactly, exactly. If you talk about society, what is society, right? We construct the society. I'm a part of the society. You cannot ignore my voice. If you are ignoring my voice, that means you are doing something wrong. So when time is there, my friend, we should make it right. Otherwise, we'll be losing young people, maybe older people. We will be losing lives, And more than that, if somebody is alive now with hatred, that is not a life, right? It's already half dead. The soul is half dead. The people who are struggling and living now. So it's about acceptance, It's about acceptance and love. That's why.
And while
Yeah.
you are sitting here with me and we're both discussing, we're in conversation on this very important topic, I'd like to request all parents, all caregivers, and all people who have children who want to go to a different direction or they want to choose a path in life, please accept it. Please do not make it hard for them. Please love them a little bit more than you did before. Because if they are different, it doesn't mean that they are bad, it's sinful, or anything like that. I think it's very important we accept them as they are. Why am I accepting my son as he is? Because he is a human being who's come into this world. He decides on his own. I do not make any rules for him. That's his decision, absolutely. So I will never make any decision if he. I've always told him that, and he's like, "What did you say, mom?" And I said, "Don't behave like a traditional person, okay? You are a guy of this generation. So I am a person from the Stone Age. I talk like a very liberal mother. So just believe me." So let's come to something more beautiful, and of course everything is beautiful, but the way you create things, it's always so peppered with love. Your poetry, your writings, everything. I notice that you play with your words so beautifully, so delicately, so passionately. How do you do that? You create marvelous gems. Every time I read your poetry, your write-ups, how do you create this? Where does it come from?
Okay. I still feel shy, like to talk about it, but yeah. Uh, from like since the time I started thinking about my especially identity, even the word identity I didn't know when I was a child. Then slowly I started write down in a journal. Then when I fell in love for the first time, I was like, shit, what happened? Like, why do I love this girl? And I used to hear all these stories from my aunts. I have very young aunts, okay. So, like, we have really very short gap between us. So, I used to hear about their loves. Like, all my aunts were uh, falling in love with people, with boys mainly. And sometimes I was the media, what is it called? I was the person who will exchange letters for them and all, because a child has more access, right? So in the village, stories were there. And one day my aunt came and she says, like, can you write something? I love this. I like this boy really, really, really badly. So I wrote a love poem for him, okay, on behalf of my aunt. And she got a very good response. Then her friends used to tell her, like, please ask your niece, to write for us. And I used to write lots of love poems for them. And it happens that few of my aunt's friends, I had a crush on them, okay, and I couldn't tell them. But I had to write poems for them, so that they can deliver it to their boyfriends. And I thought, life is not fair, man. Life is not fair. And whenever I'm gonna get this girl, I would write for her. Like, I won't involve anybody else. I will write about my love to that person. And eventually I fell in love. I was really kid. I was in class 5, I guess. And I proposed to her in class 8, and everything happened. You know how you see it in movies, especially Bollywood movies was the only access for me in village. Hollywood came really later. So I was totally Bollywood fan and all. So I used to write like, I love you. I know it's weird being a girl, loving a girl, but what can I do? I love you. All these dialogues I put from movies and all. Then she said, yes, I love you too. Let's see where it takes us. Then she wrote a PS, boys suck. Okay, so I still don't know what was the reason that she loves me. It was because she loves me, she used to love me, or just because according to her, boys suck. So anyway, I used to write for her, and now also when I write, it's really like I want to say something, about my kind of love, which is really unheard, unseen, and invisible in certain ways, even now. Because I talk about love, you read it, lots of friends read it. But what about my mom? What about my dad? Like when I talk about my family, obviously they are included. When I talk about my love, life, they are included, and probably they have nobody to talk about my sexuality. I have all my friends. Tomorrow I'll be sad. I can talk to you. But what about their questions? What about their queries? What about their worries? They have only me, and sometimes it leads to a fight also. Sometimes, so writing is somewhere it becomes the only way I can write it and upload in the Facebook post. Then my mom reads it, and slowly she has started commenting here also. So our family is really an Orthodox Assamese family. We don't say I love you face to face, on face to my parents and all. And we have that kind of gap, we don't show affection openly. So through Facebook, I have connected to my sibling, younger sister also very well nowadays. I feel they react to my posts, and it gives me happiness. And nowadays, whenever I write from the people from the community, they text me or they comment there that I can relate it to you, and did that feeling, that somebody can relate it to my writings, it gives me happiness. Like, and the other person is also has the feeling that that person is not alone, right? It's kind of a connection, and that's why I love to write. It gives me that connection to people, and I love people. If somebody asks me what is why you talk about love, it's not only about the romantic love, with one partner. Love means always people for me. So it's like
Mm.
that. Yeah, through writing, I connect to my love. That means people.
I can so relate to what you're saying, when you say, I love people, and it does not necessarily mean romantic love.
Hmm.
People sometimes do not understand. When I give a little heart, on Facebook, you have the chances of giving a little heart,
Hmm.
and nowadays, instead of just liking, I love putting hearts everywhere, because it makes it look so good. Any kind of post, whoever's given it, supposing it's uh, your poem, and I love to give a little heart because it's much better that way, and it brings out so much of love in that. So, Mayuri, this one thing which really I'm very concerned about, LGBTQ community is really, you're saying the population is increasing, people are coming out, they're becoming aware of their identities, and it mostly, I think, school children are also facing the same thing, maybe this can happen in school as well. So, how do you think we can actually support the LGBTQ community? Because it's very important that we support them, and because if there'll be a group of people who will not support. But I have my wholehearted support whenever you have any kind of a parade or any kind of thing. I am the one to be there, or even if I'm not there, I'm writing about it. But it's very important that we support. How do you think we can support? A message should come from you. How we
Hmm.
can do that?
See, like Tinatpa, I was from a village. Till class 8, I was in a very interior village school. And I was struggling with my identity. That love story I have just shared with you, that love story was also really, I was struggling. Nobody was there to talk about. I couldn't trust anybody, and somehow I came out of it, and later I knew about it, what is my identity, what is called. I didn't even have the idea about homosexuality, the term lesbian, the term gay. I didn't have any idea. I thought it was only me in the whole world. And funnily, around, I think when I was in class 5 or 6, I stopped believing in God. That question, like, why me? Like, I thought, I mean, now I'm an atheist, but I have different reasons for not believing in God. But at that time, I thought that, God, why? I was so nice to you. I was so much religious. I was such an obedient human being. Then why did you make me like this? Why? So that thing, I even stopped believing in God. The first reason I had in my mind. So you can imagine, as a child, what must be going on inside the head, right? So when people are going in school now, they realize it sooner or later. Like, especially in teenage time, they realize it more. And at that time, like, it's really hard to speak out your mind. You doubt everyone. You get the whole hormonal changes and physical changes when you hit puberty. So obviously, all the changes and the reactions. At that time, if you have an added reaction or added struggle like this regarding your identity, so it becomes really, really hard. And at the same point, somewhere that people won't accept you. We are not able to put examples right till now in front of them, that people are there like me. They are living their life openly, being gay or being a lesbian. The whole community, if I am saying. So we are unable to put certain examples also in front of them till now. So it's really important for us to understand. And in the beginning only, you said that it's a big role of the parents, right?
Yes,
And the relatives and the family. And what happens, like, 377 has been decriminalized in 2018. And I understand it's a very huge step towards our rights, LGBTQ rights. But doesn't matter how much rights in form of laws and orders you have, until and unless your own family doesn't accept you. At the end of the day, your family matters to you. At the end of the day, your friends matter to you. So as long as this acceptance rate is low, doesn't matter how many laws and orders we are failing or we are succeeding to put them aside. For me, it's always comes from the family first and the friends first. And another thing I have noticed, talking to lots of youngsters nowadays, especially, uh, girls, suppose for example, a girl like me, using the word girl like me in high school with short hair, the tomboy's attitude. People say, you are so cute, she's so smart, girls should be like that. Many times I got those praises when I was young. But on the contrary, when a guy, suppose a gay guy, the way he talks, the way he walks, his choices, his preferences, all these things don't match with all these patriarchal notions, right? And as long as you are becoming a man, somehow you're getting close to the patriarchal notion. And if, in the contrary, if a guy is becoming feminine or effeminate, then it's against patriarchal notion, right? So for me, I blame everything on patriarchy. So lots of boys are getting bullied from the community in school time. And later on, I believe they have this impact, trust issues, long-term relationship issues, family issues. All these are childhood trauma. They're really badly bullied. More than girls, I believe boys from our community, they face a lot more troubles, more struggle. Because after all, we still we are still living under the tree of patriarchy and power. So
this is
I
what
guess,
worries me, when young people are targeted, and this is what worries me. And that is why I was asking you this question about how we can support you, because we as parents, I'm calling myself a parent, because for me my prime duty is that to tell my son that if there is a student like that in your class, you are supposed to support that friend of yours. You're supposed to support, however he or she may be, just support that student, that friend of yours. That is my role. I hope other parents also feel that way, instead of laughing, jeering, making fun out of that little child and then creating some sort of trauma later on in life. Instead of that, I think it's very important we parents should become more knowledgeable, because that is where the actual, we say charity begins at home. And I think all these knowledge thing giving to our children will start from home, because all this support system, this supporting the LGBTQ community can start from home when we as parents become more responsible. I think
Definitely.
I am looking at it that way, because I am looking at, when I asked you the question, how we can support, I was thinking you're going to say that, but then I say that we should support this entire process by telling our children,
Yeah,
you know.
and Tinat, another thing really important in UK, they have introduced LGBTQ stories, like simple ones, like having two dads, having two moms, in the
Mhm.
basic elementary level school curriculum. And I think in Kerala also they have introduced it. So that's the way you bring a movement in the society, and that movement will come to your family slowly. It's not a overnight process, when when a child will read this in their textbook, because a child has a natural tendency, right, to believe whatever is there in the textbook and whatever the teachers say. So that's how it should start. If we nourish this whole idea of homosexuality from the textbook, isn't it a very good idea? I think one of the best ideas. So I really believe in it.
Wonderful. In fact, Mayuri, I'm reading a book by Ishad Manji. She is a
Mm.
Canadian writer, and she is writing this book called Don't Label Me. So she's writing on, discrimination of the Muslims and things like that. But apart from that, she's also very specifically writing about her marriage to her girlfriend and how her mother supported her. Even though her mother was a very Orthodox Muslim and all that, yet the mother supported her despite the father beating her up and all that. But then, she has spoken very highly about her mother, Ishad Manji. You can read this book,
Of
Don't
course,
Label
of
Me. I
course.
read it right now. And she has written it very beautifully. She's speaking about two discriminations where, people have discriminated her because she's married to a woman, and where she's being discriminated as a Muslim. So, that book is very, very
Yeah,
interesting.
she is the minority again in the minority section, right? So
Yes.
I can
Ways,
understand her
both
struggle.
ways, both ways. So she's
So
talking about
beautiful.
minority as a Muslim and minority
Yeah.
as a person of LGBTQ community. So Mayuri, you had written a lovely story on Facebook, and this I have read twice. You had written about these two beautiful women who were in love with each other. The photographer Molly Malone Cook and the poet Mary Oliver. And I would love it if you just share this story with our viewers.
Yeah, of course. Like I read lots of poems, and Mary Oliver is one of the favorite ones of mine. So one day I was just searching her works and all the life history, and suddenly I realized, like, she was in a relationship with a woman for 40 years, and I was like, wow, that just fascinated me, and I scroll down more and more between, I mean, where their social pages and all this in Facebook and Google, also Wikipedia. I took help, and both of them were amazing, at one place Mary Oliver's poems are like heavenly, and at the other hand, Molly's photographies, those are like magical, and they met, that is more magical than the separate identities, they stayed in, I think, in US, obviously I forgot the small details, and they stayed together for 40 years. And what happened after Molly died, Mary collected Molly's photographs, and she put some captions, both her text and Molly's photographs were put together in that book.
Wow.
And our story, it's so amazing. Like, that book is an example, I know what to say. It's a like a religious book kind of, for our community. It should be, because it's celebrating love, and that to a minority phase of love. It's amazing. Like, both of them were amazing, and their love story, I am just inspired by them, and I wish I wish
I mean,
Someday.
all of us are in love like this all the time.
Exactly.
We should fall
Someday.
in love, yes.
Yeah. And there's a
Someday.
small boy who is looking with a binocular on the sea, open sea, in the book cover. And it's like he is looking at the future. And Mary and Molly has given so much contribution to that boy's future, celebrating their love in the form of that book. And I love that concept. I love
Wonderful.
it. Yes.
So I think at this moment we must hear some of your poems. Your poems are so beautiful, and I'm sure. The viewers must be saying that they're speaking too much. We want to hear Mayuri now. So we want to hear Mayuri. Your Assamese and your English poems, all of them are classic. They are classic gems, I can say, each of them. So
Thank you so much. Like, I'm in seventh cloud, or what to say. Just give me some time, like for a few minutes. I'll just search. Sorry, I didn't get the time. Otherwise, I would have made a separate file for it. But hmm, okay, this one is a very short one, Assamese one,
mhm.
and I was really sad when it happened. There was an incident on the street of Maligaon between certain Hijra communities, two communities, and people were taking video. The video became really viral, and
Was
the
this recently? Mayuri, was this recently which
yeah,
happened?
yeah. I
Yeah,
think it was on 26th or 25th of July.
I
Yes,
and I was very sad it happened.
yeah,
I saw it
exactly. And the
was
people's comments were full of violence and hatred towards that particular community. And
okay.
after that, I wrote it. I remember because of the my timeline. It's a very short one. শব্দবোৰে আজীৱন বান্ধি থয় শব্দবোৰে আজীৱন বান্ধি থয় সমকামী বহুত কথা থাকে শব্দবোৰৰ মাজত হিজৰা ক্ষোভ নে আক্ষেপ পুৰুষ কি বুলি কওঁ নাৰী কি লুকাই থওঁ মোক শব্দ এটা দিয়া মোক শব্দ এটা দিয়া বহুত শব্দ নিজেই আহিব বহুত শব্দ নিজেই আহিব হিচাপবোৰ কৰিবলৈ Thank you.
Ooh,
And,
really.
thank
Yeah, I got goosebumps while you were reading it. It's so beautiful.
thank you
Wonderful.
so much. Okay,
Can
I
we
will. Hmm?
yes, can we
Sorry,
have
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
poem?
This is really. I love this actually. uh, One sec. Uh, yes. I'll go now.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Story of my first breakup was quite cute. I loved a girl. She loved me back. Back then, we didn't know about same-sex love. We shifted places. We lost contact. We grew up. But yeah, we loved each other. And my first heartbreak was a secret. My first love was a secret. My first breakup was a secret. People have so many stories to tell about their first love, first breakup, first kiss. But I couldn't. My first kiss was also a secret. Story of my second breakup was sad. I loved a girl, she loved a man. She loved me also some days. The insecurity of losing each other, the insecurity of not being able to claim our love drew us apart. We cried secretly. But yeah, we loved each other. And my second breakup was also a secret. My third breakup was pathetic. I loved a girl, she loved me back. By then we knew what our love was called. We knew our love was forbidden. We became inseparable. We fell in love with each other's existence. But she needed a baby of her own flesh. And for that, I was not man enough. We separated secretly with the two most broken hearts. But yeah, we loved each other, and my third breakup was also a secret. Breakups are tragic, breakups are unwanted, breakups are unavoidable, and in my case, breakups are always a secret. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. I, in fact, read this poem of yours and I really liked it. I
Thank you.
read this poem of yours. It's really wonderful. Wonderful. We're going to hear more from you.
Mm.
I hope you're going to give us some more. But one aspect which has not been covered, and during this entire COVID period, I've seen how people have been going haywire about mental health and mental health issues and about whose mental health is important and whose is not, and some people getting angry because people are talking about mental health. All this chaos happening, but in this entire chaos, I have not seen anyone discussing about the LGBTQI plus community and mental health issues. Why so? Why do you think? Is it not important that the LGBTQ community needs their mental health to be in complete order, and they need to be healthy? Why aren't people discussing about it?
Yeah, again, Bob, it's a minority community, LGBTQ, and it has become a trend to talk about mental health after what happened with Sushant Singh Rajput. Again, I am saying, even COVID-19 during COVID-19 also, people are talking about more about mental health nowadays. See, the things many people have still not realized what is the importance of acceptance. Mainly, I'm saying the acceptance word because this is what between us and the people who are not accepting. I mean, who are not knowing about us or who are not wanting to know about this community. So that's where the lacking of understanding happens, the lacking of empathy happens, the lacking of compassion happens. Because if I believe, although we are talking about it right now, you and I are talking about LGBTQ mental health. That's a very huge step. Like 3-4 years back, I think people were not talking about it at all. And recently, one of my, this group organization, my very good friends, they have co-founded it, Hobdo. They had a very nice talk about, I think it was yesterday only, they talk about LGBTQ and mental health. So people from the community are specially talking about LGBTQ and their mental health, not as such from expert from other psychology department or other departments. They're not talking about that much, and I understand that because the way I said, it's lack of understanding and invisibility. The more the visibility will happen, the acceptance will happen. That's how it's very important to talk about mental health from the community perspective also. That's how visibility will come. And right now, what can I say? People, it's all in the hands of people. The future is in their hand. It's like it's an every individual have to realize what we are trying to say. It's not merely the terms LGBTQ. People are there behind those terms. True people, love is there, life is there, and most importantly, what you said, human beings are there after each and every term of LGBTQ. As long as we are relating it, and until people don't relate it to it, I think this gap will be there. Am I making sense, by the way?
Absolute sense. Absolute sense. I want more and more people to talk about mental health
Yeah.
and LGBTQ community because nobody's talking about them.
Hmm.
Nobody is talking about their health. Everybody is talking about someone who's elite, maybe Sushant Singh Rajput. Okay, fine. We talked about him. He's gone, done. Now let's talk about something more important. I think we need to talk about this. You are making absolute sense. And
Yeah.
I hope if whoever is listening to this program, and if they think it is relevant, I hope they take this up they take up this issue of mental health of the LGBTQ community, and they start discussing about things like this. Because even though you're a minority community, even this, you're saying it's 10%, no, but they are still important people for us. They are important part of the community, they are important part of the society, they're important part of the economy. They are adding to the economy. So please, let's not forget that. They are just not anyone. They are a part of the community. They're part of the family. So I hope people are going to look up to this, whatever you're saying, this relevant
Yeah,
thing.
and
Saying.
another thing, this lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community, people are talking about it more. At least the terms are uttered by people. Before, though, these words were like slangs. When I was a teenager girl, it was a slang like homo, lesbo. They don't even call lesbian. They didn't even pronounce the word fully. It's like lesbo. And there is an example. People saved my name as Mayuri Lesbo. So another thing is like being a lesbian is it's a part of my identity. This is not the whole identity. You shouldn't look at me only as the lesbian. I have other identities as well. So this is where also the gap comes when we talk about mental health and other issues from the community. It's not only the term lesbian that define us. It's just a part of the identity, and we have to understand it. Why people are talking about this part specifically, because it is that important. And as soon as people will realize it with compassion, it's not a trend. LGBTQI plus, it's not a trend, it's a reality of so many people around the world. People are dying, people are committing suicide, people were killed, people were assassinated. So things don't build up in overnight. It has been from centuries. It is from the beginning of life. Homosexuality community was there. You cannot deny that fact. And
True.
just because you don't understand something, you cannot deny that it doesn't exist. So it's high time people should open up their mind. They should talk about it rather than talking about gossiping about it or keeping some unhealthy curiosities. We are there. At least if somebody asks me nicely, I'm always there to speak about it nicely. I don't have any issues. People says that, oh, that they have LGBTQI plus issues. No, we don't have issues with our identity. You people have issues with our identities, and that's
True.
where the problem starts. So personally, I think like that.
Yeah,
This
I think accepting the way you are is the best way out. Accepting the LGBTQI plus community into our family is very important, because right now you are considered to be a separate entity altogether.
Yep.
This community is a separate. It's like you're aliens. You are not part of this earth. You have just gotten from Mars or some place. It's something like that. It's people. We better start accepting you as human beings, as normal human beings, and that this is how we behave and this is how we are. That is the way it is. I think that's how it is. Mayuri, I wanted to ask you this question. You and I shared a common platform in the American Story Center, if you remember, and you were very vocal about how when you were growing up and what your mom and your dad and how they had this kind of a feeling towards you. I really want to hear, I want others to hear about it. I don't know about it, but I want, how were they feeling when you were, expressing, at least not all of it, but some of the feelings that you had about yourself? What were their feelings like, your mom and dad?
uh, if I have to start with it, it's like my parents never forced me to do certain things that the society expects a girl should do. Like, for example, they never forced me to cut my hair. And up to I mean, very late time, they used to cut off my hair. And I didn't like the style and all, because that's again a taboo that a girl cannot go to a salon and cut the hair. It's only a man's place. Nowadays, the idea of salon, unisex salons have come up, right? But if you go into a village or interior place, it's still there. That salons are only for male. And my mom used to give me haircut, and up to a certain extent, my dad used to give me haircut. So it's just an example. And they never forced me to do certain things that People expected me otherwise. Even relatives expected me. And if I come to my sexuality, then I had I had quite a long, what to say. I had a long list of relationships. Like it's not like that. I was a weak flirt or pervert kind of a person. Many people think, by the way, that's why I'm saying it, that LGBTQ people are it's only about sex for them. No, it's not only about that. It's more than that. It's quite emotional actually. But what happens? Being a gay woman, I mostly fell for straight women, and I don't know how they identify themselves nowadays. But at least until I met them, they used to say about themselves as a heterosexual cisgendered woman. So that insecurity was there. Eventually they used to get married, they used to have their own babies. That's why the relationships didn't last longer.
Okay, I think we seem to be having a situation here. So, viewers, we've been talking with Moyuri, and I think her net.
Happened like that.
Okay, we didn't hear you in between, so I was trying to fill it up for you. So
Okay, sorry, I was speaking and I thought your network
yeah,
was not working.
the network was not showing. So
So sorry. Okay, so when did you lose me? Like, what I was saying exactly about?
you were talking about your childhood, of course. Yeah, that
Yeah, yeah. So why we broke up? All those heterosexual cisgendered women, they claimed at the time about their identities. The moment we met and things happened, we fell in love. But the breakups happen mostly because of this insecurity and of this fear, that what family will say, what society will say, in most of the cases. Of course, in some cases, we didn't match, our personalities didn't match, and we separated. But in many of the cases where I was emotionally very much involved, we couldn't proceed for that relationship because of all these barriers, which are mostly created by society. So that's the one thing. Like LGBTQ people, it's not only about sex. That thing. So during this process of ex-girlfriends, my parents obviously had some idea. What I'm doing. They had an idea. In family, your people what they're up to, but they never asked me directly anything. Sometimes my mom tried to talk to me, and my dad never talks about this to me. Even now, we have never shared any thoughts regarding this. Our main media is my mom. So recently, like 3 years back, it's not that recent also, but 3 years back, I came out openly in front of my colleagues, and I tried to push it into in our conversations with my friends that, see, I belong to this community, my identity is this, and all of them accepted me as I was. That gave me the confidence, like, if this family, extended family, is accepting you, why not your mom, why not your family, and my younger sibling, my sister, obviously we share the same room, so she had the phone conversations and all. She had that idea, but we never uttered those words properly. But after coming out to people, my colleagues, my extended friends and families, I got that confidence. And right now I'm in a very healthy and stable, good relationship, and partnership or your partner always matters, at least for me. It means a lot to me to have a good partner who will understand, and there are like dynamics all about. So after I met her, it also gave me confidence, you can talk about yourself, like, talk to your mom. So I brought my partner to my parents' place, and I introduced her with my parents. They have some idea, but we didn't talk. After she left, I sat down with my mom, and I just told her, like, Mom, see, you have a vague idea about my identity and my love life. So this is what we are called. And there are so many other people I know, personally I know, until now. Then she said, like, what about your security in future? Like, what about your partner? Then I said, she is my partner. Then she asked me, are you sure she will stay with you forever? So I said, like, forever is a very long and big term, mom. When you got married to my dad, did you know that both of you would stuck forever organically? I'm not talking about the pressures from marriage and all these things, institution. I'm just talking organically. Could you give the guarantee that both of us will still living like this? She said no. That's what life is about, ma'am. Life is about uncertainty. Life is all about how we accept these uncertainties. Knowing that uncertainties are there, we still dare to live this life. That is the whole point about living a life, right? So then she asked me, like, whose fault is this that you are gay? Is it my fault? I said, Mom, please, you couldn't decide my height also. I'm so short. Otherwise, I could have blamed you for my short height, right? So how can you decide about my sexuality and identity? She said, true. Then she said, what if you grow up your hair a little bit? Then might be you might get attracted to boys, or you might feel like a girl, typical girl. And then I asked her, okay, Mom, I will grow up my hair, but you'll have to cut short your hair. Will you be able to cut short your hair and walk on the Sariali chalk in our area? She said, no, it's impossible for me. I said, exactly, it's impossible for me to wear salwar kameez, to wear sari and mekhla sadar, or grow up my hair. In the mirror, I want to see myself like this. The way you accept your image in the mirror, then she understood. And obviously, when I'm speaking, it feels like a very nice and amazing story of coming out. But when we were talking, lots of tears and slimes were included, and that's how we started. After that, I started. After I told my mom openly about it, gave me the confidence to write about me openly in the social media. It gave me the confidence to talk about it, like this kind of platform that what we are doing right now, and it changed my life. That little acceptance from my family openly. They have always accepted me and supported me, especially in this regard, my sexuality. But after that incident, slowly and slowly, I started posting. I started sharing it with my mom, because family means mom somehow for me. Like, obviously, I love my sister. Okay, I love my dad also, but for mom, when she accepts it, it became really clear to me, my vision and my motive, and that's why I am call me that my parents are not understanding me what to do, Mayuriba. I really understand how it means and what it means to somebody about their family acceptance. So that's how the journey started. And now my mom comments on my post. She says that, go ahead, my child, help them. And my mom is very dramatic. So she said, be the courage and inspiration of others from your community. So this makes me happy, like the guilt feeling of being myself was there. Now it's slowly it's fading, and there is a big issue of guilt from this community people. They feel guilty for being gay or lesbian, so I'm fortunate enough that I am
I I
uploading
I'm
it.
so inspired by your story, and I wish that all the members of your community actually do not feel shy. They are not embarrassed. They are just brave enough to go and do what they want to do. And I really want them to come out in the open. Seriously, they're just like you have done, and the way you talk and write and do things. I think you're an amazing person. And before we end, we'd like to hear some more poetry from you. If you are willing to do that, I'd like to hear some more poetry from you. Maybe two
Yeah,
of your.
of course. Just don't get annoyed, okay? I couldn't get the time to select it beforehand. I was just scrolling down from my Facebook. Mm, wait, huh? Mm. So this one is it's mainly from my memories from my childhood when I grew up in a village. It really happened actually, most of the things. পেহীহতে ফটা কাপোৰেৰে পুতলাবোৰ বনাই থাকোতে তাই এটা ক্ৰিকেটৰ বল বিচাৰি থাকে। লগৰীয়াৰ সৈতে ভাত ৰন্ধা খেলাৰ সময়ত তাই খেলপথাৰবোৰত ফুটবলৰ হৈচৈবোৰ শুনি শুনি উচপিচাই থাকে। আয়ে চুলি ফিটাবোৰ আলফুলে বান্ধি থকাৰ সময়ত তাই এমূৰ চুটি চুলিৰ সপোন দেখে। স্কুলৰ বান্ধৱীবোৰে ফুচফুচাই নিজৰ ভাল লগা ল'ৰাবোৰৰ কথা পাতোতে তাইৰো মন যায় ভাল লগা ছোৱালীবোৰৰ কথাবোৰ ক'বলে। আৰু এনেকৈয়ে আৰম্ভ হয় কথাবোৰ নিজৰ মাজত লুকাওতে তাই পাহৰি যায় শৈশৱৰ মিঠাবোৰ কোনোবাখিনিত, কৈশোৰৰ উত্তেজনাবোৰ কোনোবাখিনিত, আৰু যৌৱন যেন এক যাতনা। মই ৰৈ আছো তাইলৈ এতিয়া। তাই আহিব এদিন, কথাবোৰ পাতিম আমি। তাইৰ হাতত তুলি দিম ৰামধেনু এখন। আৰু দুলি থাকিম আমি তাত। Thank you.
Whoa, lovely, lovely.
Thank you.
And an English poem, if I may
Yes.
request, please.
Wait. I'm so sorry, okay? I'm just keeping
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Okay. So I'll go for this one. I could also write the saddest lines today. Yet, I'm writing about my every attempt to love you. You often ask me why people fall in love with a certain one. I don't know the answer, my love. I don't know why I love you and why you do. My love for you comes without any limits. I know I hurt you in the process. But how to tell you, my love, the way I can't help loving you, same way I can't help giving you pain. Because love comes with certain amount of pain too. My love for you is defined as the pain of loving a woman being a woman. My love for you is painted with the colors of rainbow. But when it reaches the earth, my love, it becomes an alienated one. Someday, somebody says love is a personal business. But to claim my love for you, I have to put out a missile on the streets. Do you see, my love? My love for you is a curse to people sometimes because my love for you doesn't know any boundary. It's as free as the wind, no shape, no limits. You know, my love for you sometimes suffer, staying in a dark closet where I fall and fall into the bottom. To rise from that dark bottom to the streets, to claim my love for you is a hell of a journey. That's why I hurt you sometimes in the process. That's why I said I could have also written the saddest lines today. Instead, I'm writing about my attempts to love you, my love. All my attempts from the people's hatred to my poetry is the way I love you. Thank you.
Amazing,
So much.
amazing. Every word resonates of love. Mayuri, thank you. You have been so blunt, and the best part about why I love you is you are such a wonderful human being, number one. And number two, you're so blunt about everything. You're so open, and yet you say it with so much of love and passion. You're not aggressive about what you say. I love the way you speak and way you tell your stories. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. You have been it's been my privilege and my honor that you are here today on my show, Conversations with Tina. Thank you so much, Mayuri. I am privileged. I would love to speak to you again. I hope we have more conversations like this. And I wish you and your companion the best. And I hope both of you are happy and always in love. And I know you are not going to like me to say forever, but I'm going to say, may you have love forever all the time. And I wish you the best. Mayuri, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ba, and all this team, all your team, Freebirds team, and all our friends, and who are listening and who will probably will be listening. I don't know what I say, but after a long time of struggle, I have become this identity, to speak about my truth. And truth is again a very Izafiat, relative term, right? So whatever I see nowadays and whatever I have stored in my heart, I speak out to people, especially when I meet people like you, because obviously it depends on the person you are talking with. You gave me the such kind of love, and you give me love whenever we meet, and surprisingly, because of this COVID-19, we are meeting virtually. Just
Yes.
imagine when we will meet physically this time. I'm just waiting for the day. Thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank
really
you.
happy. I'm really happy to talk about. Thank
Let
you.
us give each other a hug. I'm going to give you a hug right now.
Yes.
And let's give you a hug. Yes. Love you so much. Thank you,
Love.
Mayuri. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
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 Bye.